An unexpected encounter. The dingy neon sign of Joe's Diner flickered outside in the cold, dark night, casting a pale glow over the rain-slick pavement. Inside, Chloe Turner adjusted her apron and sighed as she glanced at the clock. It was nearly 11 p.m., and the diner was quiet except for the occasional clink of a coffee cup and the hum of the overhead fluorescent lights. Chloe had been working at Joe's for 3 years, saving every tip she could to one day leave her small town and chase her dream of becoming a writer. But life, as it often did, had other plans. Bills piled up, her car barely ran, and her dreams felt as faded as the diner's checkered floors. A quiet stranger. The door jingled, pulling Chloe from her thoughts. A man stepped inside, shaking the rain from his coat. He wasn't flashy, just an ordinary-looking guy in a worn leather jacket and a black baseball cap pulled low over his face. Chloe barely glanced at him as she grabbed a menu and approached his booth. "Welcome to Joe's," she said with a practiced smile. "What can I get you?" The man looked up briefly, and Chloe noticed something familiar about his face, though she couldn't quite place it. His eyes were kind but tired, as if he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. He smiled politely. "Just a coffee." "Black." "Sure thing," Chloe said, turning to pour his coffee. She set the steaming mug in front of him and asked, "Anything else?" "No, thank you," he replied, his voice soft but steady. He took a sip and seemed to relax, blending into the quiet atmosphere of the diner. The fans arrive. Chloe busied herself wiping down the counter and stacking plates when the door jingled again. This time, a group of excited young people burst in, laughing loudly. Chloe groaned inwardly. They weren't the kind of crowd that tipped well, and they usually left a mess. The group slid into a booth near the back but quickly fell silent. One of them whispered loudly, "Is that?" "Oh my God, I think it is." Chloe glanced at the stranger, who had stiffened slightly, his hands curling around his coffee cup. The group was staring at him, their whispers growing more animated. "It's Keanu Reeves," one of them hissed, louder than intended. Chloe's eyes widened in realization. Of course, she thought. That's why he seemed familiar. She had seen him in countless movies, but had never expected to see him in her small, run-down diner. The group began to rise, clearly intent on approaching him, their phones already out. Chloe noticed the slight panic in the man's eyes as he adjusted his cap lower over his face. Instinctively, she stepped forward. A kind gesture. "Hey," Chloe said, addressing the group with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Can I help you find a seat?" The group hesitated, torn between approaching their idol and following social etiquette. No, we're good," one of them muttered, still glancing at Keanu. Chloe turned slightly, positioning herself between the group and the booth. "Actually, the back section is reserved for cleaning right now." "Why don't you take a seat near the window?" she suggested firmly. The group reluctantly returned to their booth, grumbling but settling down. Chloe exhaled in relief and walked over to Keanu's table. "I hope you don't mind," she said softly. "I figured you might want some space." Keanu looked up at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said, his voice sincere. "It's been a long day." "No problem," Chloe replied with a shrug, trying to seem nonchalant. "I'm used to dealing with people like that." He smiled faintly and sipped his coffee. "Still, I appreciate it." A heartfelt note. The rest of the night passed quietly. The group of fans eventually left, and Chloe returned to her routine. Keanu stayed for a while, occasionally glancing at the rain outside, lost in thought. When he finally stood to leave, he caught her attention. "Thanks again," he said, sliding a $100 bill onto the table beneath his coffee mug. Chloe's eyes widened. "That's way too much." "Consider it a thank you," he interrupted, his smile warm. Before she could protest further, he turned and walked out into the rainy night. Chloe picked up the bill and noticed a folded piece of paper beneath it. Her heart skipped as she opened it and read the handwritten note. "Thank you for your kindness. The world needs more people like you. Kr. For a moment, Chloe just stood there, the note and the money clutched in her hands. She glanced out the window, but he was already gone. The night felt a little brighter, and for the first time in a long time, she felt like her small acts of kindness mattered. She slipped the note into her pocket, her lips curving into a soft smile. She didn't know it yet, but that one encounter would change everything. Part 2, The Fallout. The smell of frying bacon and burnt coffee lingered in the air as Chloe began her morning shift at Joe's diner. The events of the previous night still played in her mind like a dream. She couldn't stop thinking about the quiet man who turned out to be Keanu Reeves, his kind words, and the generous tip that had left her stunned. She had tucked the note into her wallet, a small piece of reassurance she carried with her now. "Morning, Chloe," her coworker Janie said as she tied on her apron. "Heard anything about the guy from last night? Everyone in town is talking about how Keanu Reeves was here." Chloe chuckled, still feeling the glow of the moment. "It's crazy, isn't it? He was so down to earth. You'd never guess he was famous if you didn't know who he was." The conversation was light-hearted until the diner's door swung open with an aggressive creak, and the manager, Larry Burke, stomped in. Larry was a middle-aged man with a perpetual scowl, a thinning comb-over, and a reputation for caring more about profits than his employees. He ran Joe's diner like a dictator, barking orders and cutting corners whenever he could. The confrontation. Larry's eyes darted around the diner as he grabbed his clipboard from the counter. "What's this I'm hearing about a celebrity in my diner last night?" he barked, his voice loud enough to make the few patrons glance up from their meals. Chloe hesitated, unsure of how much to say. "Yeah, Keanu Reeves came in," she admitted, keeping her tone neutral. Larry's eyes narrowed. "And you didn't tell me?" "Well, he didn't want any attention," Chloe explained. "I just gave him some space and made sure the other customers didn't bother him." Larry's expression darkened. "So, you gave him special treatment?" Chloe frowned. "It wasn't special treatment. He just wanted to drink his coffee in peace. That's all." Larry slammed his clipboard onto the counter. "This isn't a charity, Chloe. You don't get to decide who gets peace and who doesn't. Do you know how much publicity we could have gotten if people knew Keanu Reeves was here? You should have made a fuss, gotten photos, posted online. That's the kind of thing that puts money in the register." Chloe's temper flared, but she forced herself to stay calm. "He didn't want that, Larry. He came here to relax, not to be harassed. I was just doing my job." Larry snorted. "Your job is to follow my rules, not play PR agent for some Hollywood hotshot. You think you're better than this place, don't you? Always acting like you're too good for this diner." "That's not true." Chloe shot back, her voice shaking. "I've worked here for 3 years, Larry. I've given everything to this place. All I did was treat him with respect." "Respect doesn't pay the bills," Larry snapped. "You know what, Chloe? I've had enough of your attitude. Pack your things. You're fired." "Fired on the spot." Chloe froze, her heart sinking into her stomach. "Fired," she repeated, unable to believe what she was hearing. "For what?" "For disrespecting me and putting your own ideas above what's best for the diner," Larry said coldly. "You think celebrities are gonna keep this place running? I need employees who know their place." The few customers in the diner stopped eating, their heads turning toward the argument. Janie looked horrified, but she didn't dare intervene. Chloe's cheeks burned with embarrassment and anger. "Fine," Chloe said, ripping off her apron and throwing it onto the counter. "I don't need this job anyway." She stormed out of the diner, her heart pounding. As she stepped into the crisp morning air, tears pricked at her eyes. She had worked tirelessly at Joe's, enduring long hours and Larry's constant berating, all because she needed the paycheck. And now, it was gone, taken away for the crime of treating someone with kindness. Struggling to cope, Chloe sat in her car, gripping the steering wheel as she fought back tears. Her savings were already dwindling, and now she didn't know how she'd pay her bills or keep her car running. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on her, threatening to crush the small glimmer of hope she'd been holding on to. She reached into her wallet and pulled out the note Keanu had left. She unfolded it carefully, her eyes scanning the words again. "Thank you for your kindness. The world needs more people like you. Kr." She traced the handwriting with her fingers, letting the words sink in. Keanu had seen something in her, something good and worthwhile. And while she didn't know what the future held, she held on to the belief that this wasn't the end of her story. With a deep breath, Chloe started her car and drove home. She didn't have a plan yet, but she refused to let Larry's cruelty define her. Somewhere, somehow, she would find her way. Little did she know, her act of kindness had already set something extraordinary in motion. A viral moment. Chloe spent the next few days alternating between trying to figure out her next steps and replaying her final moments at Joe's diner in her mind. The sting of being fired over something so petty burned deeply, and her dwindling savings only added to her stress. She applied to every job she could find, but the fear of not landing something in time loomed over her like a dark cloud. Meanwhile, something unexpected was brewing online. The video. Unbeknownst to Chloe, one of the customers at the diner that night had recorded the entire exchange. The video showed Chloe calmly intercepting the group of fans, gently guiding them back to their booth while keeping the atmosphere light. The camera panned to Keanu Reeves, sitting quietly in his booth, clearly grateful for Chloe's intervention. It ended with a brief glimpse of her checking on him again, her professional demeanor intact, and his warm smile in response. The customer uploaded the video to social media with a simple caption. "Waitress at a tiny diner protects Keanu Reeves from being swarmed by fans." What a class act. Within hours, the video began to gain traction. People admired Chloe's kindness and professionalism, calling her a true, unsung hero. The clip was soon picked up by larger accounts, and its views skyrocketed. Comments poured in, with users praising Chloe for respecting Keanu's privacy and going out of her way to help. But the story didn't stop there. Another diner patron had overheard Larry's argument with Chloe and shared their account in a follow-up post. The tweet read, "Not only did this amazing waitress protect Keanu Reeves, but her greedy manager fired her for it. Someone give her a better job already. #Justice for Chloe." This new revelation turned the video into a full-blown viral moment. Social media uproar. Within 24 hours, hashtags like #Justice for Chloe, #BeKind, and #Support Chloe began trending. Users expressed outrage at the injustice of Chloe losing her job over such a selfless act. Memes and tweets flooded the internet. She protects Keanu Reeves and gets fired? The world makes no sense. #Justice for Chloe. Someone find this amazing waitress and give her the life she deserves. #BeKind. Chloe didn't just serve coffee, she served kindness. Let's make sure she knows she's appreciated. Larry, on the other hand, faced a wave of backlash. Reviews for Joe's Diner plummeted on Yelp, with users calling out the manager's cruel behavior. A post exposing his history of mistreating employees gained traction, further tarnishing the diner's reputation. The diner's social media pages were flooded with negative comments, forcing them to disable replies. Keanu sees the video. Meanwhile, Keanu Reeves, who had been traveling, stumbled across the viral video. At first, he didn't realize the video was about him, he rarely followed social media trends. But as he watched, the memory of that night at the diner came rushing back. He remembered Chloe's warm smile and how she had handled the situation with grace and kindness. Reading the comments, Keanu felt a pang of guilt. He had no idea what had happened to Chloe after he left, and seeing the account of her being fired made him pause. Keanu wasn't one to stand idly by when he could help someone. He picked up his phone and made a call to his team. Reaching out. The next morning, Chloe was sitting at her kitchen table, scanning job listings, when her phone buzzed with a notification. She groaned, assuming it was another rejection email. But when she glanced at the screen, her eyes widened. The message was from someone claiming to represent Keanu Reeves. It read, "Hi Chloe, this is Maria from Keanu Reeves' team. Keanu saw the video about your incredible kindness and wanted to get in touch with you. Please let us know if you're available for a call." Chloe blinked, rereading the message 3 times to make sure it wasn't a prank. Her heart raced as she quickly typed a response, confirming her availability. Minutes later, her phone rang. "Hello?" Chloe said, her voice shaky. "Hi, Chloe. This is Keanu," a familiar, calm voice replied. Chloe nearly dropped the phone. "Oh my God. Hi, Mr. Reeves. I don't even know what to say." Keanu chuckled softly. "First of all, please call me Keanu. And second, I just wanted to say thank you again for what you did that night. I saw the video, and I'm sorry to hear about what happened afterward." "It wasn't your fault," Chloe said quickly. "I was just doing my job." "Well, you did it with kindness and integrity, and I think that deserves recognition," Keanu said. "I want to help you." "Help me?" Chloe asked, stunned. "Yes," Keanu said. "I have an idea, but I'd like to discuss it with you in person. Can you meet me for lunch tomorrow? My team will take care of everything, just let us know what works for you." Chloe sat frozen, unable to process what was happening. "Why yes, of course. Thank you so much." Keanu thanked her again before ending the call, leaving Chloe staring at her phone in disbelief. Whatever tomorrow held, she knew her life was about to change. Life-changing news. Chloe stood nervously outside the upscale restaurant where she was set to meet Keanu Reeves. Her palms were clammy, and her heart raced as she checked her reflection in the restaurant's glass door. She had never imagined that one simple act of kindness at her old diner would lead to this moment. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside, where a hostess greeted her warmly. "You must be Chloe," the woman said, leading her to a private table in the corner. There, seated casually in a black button-up shirt and jeans, was Keanu Reeves. He stood as she approached, offering her a kind smile. "Chloe, it's great to see you again," he said, shaking her hand. "Mr. Keanu," she corrected herself quickly, "I'm so honored to be here. I can't believe this is happening." Keanu gestured for her to sit. "The honor's mine. I've been looking forward to this conversation. The opportunity." After they ordered, Keanu leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Chloe, I wanted to meet with you because I saw the way you handled that situation at the diner. You didn't just do your job, you showed compassion and professionalism in a way that's rare to see these days." Chloe blushed. "I was just trying to do what felt right. That's exactly why I think you're the perfect fit for something I've been working on," Keanu said, his tone growing serious. "I've been planning to start a charitable organization focused on helping struggling families, providing resources, support, and opportunities to people who've been dealt a tough hand in life. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time, but I've been waiting for the right person to help me lead it." Chloe's eyes widened. "You want me to help you lead a charity?" "Not just help," Keanu said. "I want you to manage it. I've seen your kindness, your ability to handle difficult situations, and your genuine care for people. Those are exactly the qualities I want in someone running this organization." Chloe stared at him, stunned. I don't even know what to say. "Are you sure I'm the right person for this? I don't have experience running a charity." Keanu smiled reassuringly. "You have the heart for it, and that's what matters most. Experience can be learned. And you won't be doing it alone, I'll provide you with a team, resources, and everything you need to succeed. All I ask is that you bring your passion and commitment to the role." A new purpose. Chloe felt a lump in her throat as she processed his words. For years, she had dreamed of doing something meaningful with her life, but financial struggles and dead-end jobs had always held her back. Now, an opportunity to make a real difference was being handed to her. "Keanu, I don't know what to say," she finally managed, tears welling in her eyes. Thank you. This means more to me than you can imagine. You don't have to thank me, Keanu said warmly. Just promise me you'll use this opportunity to help as many people as you can. Chloe nodded, her determination solidifying. I promise. Backlash at the diner. While Chloe's life was taking a dramatic turn for the better, Joe's diner was in turmoil. The video exposing Larry's behavior had gone viral, and the backlash was swift. Angry customers flooded the diner's social media pages with negative reviews and calls for boycotts. Shame on you for firing someone over kindness, one review read. I'll never eat here again, another commenter declared. Local news stations picked up the story, interviewing former employees who confirmed Larry's pattern of mistreatment. The public outrage grew, and within a week, Joe's diner had lost much of its customer base. Facing mounting pressure, the diner's owner stepped in, issuing a public apology and announcing that Larry had been removed as manager. Though the apology did little to repair the damage, it marked a small victory for Chloe and others who had endured Larry's cruelty. A fresh start. In the weeks that followed, Chloe dove headfirst into her new role as manager of the charitable organization, which Keanu named the Beacon Project. True to his word, Keanu provided her with a skilled team and all the resources she needed to bring the initiative to life. Chloe worked tirelessly, organizing food drives, creating housing assistance programs, and setting up job training workshops for struggling families. She felt a renewed sense of purpose each day, knowing that her efforts were making a tangible difference in people's lives. Keanu remained involved, attending events and offering guidance when needed. The two developed a close friendship based on mutual respect, and Chloe often found herself inspired by his humility and dedication to helping others. Reflecting on the journey. One evening, after a long day of organizing a fundraising gala, Chloe sat in her new office and reflected on how much her life had changed. She thought about the night Keanu walked into the diner, the moment she chose to stand up for his privacy, and the fallout that had seemed like the end of her world. Pulling the note Keanu had written from her wallet, she read it again. Thank you for your kindness. The world needs more people like you. Kr. Chloe smiled, her heart swelling with gratitude. That single act of kindness had set off a chain of events she could never have imagined. She had found a purpose, a new family in her team at the Beacon Project, and a life that felt truly meaningful. For the first time in years, Chloe didn't feel stuck. She felt alive, hopeful, and ready to face whatever came next. And all it had taken was a little kindness. A fresh start. The offices of the Beacon Project buzzed with activity as Chloe Turner sat at her desk, reviewing the latest progress reports. It had been 6 months since she stepped into her new role as the organization's manager, and every day felt like a new adventure. For years, Chloe had longed to do something meaningful with her life, but she never imagined it would take shape like this. The Beacon Project had already made significant strides. Food drives, housing assistance programs, and job training workshops had been launched across the city. Families who had been on the brink of losing everything now had hope, and Chloe's heart swelled each time she heard their stories. One of her favorite initiatives was the Community Garden Project. What started as a small effort to provide fresh produce to low-income neighborhoods had blossomed into a gathering space where people of all ages came together to learn, grow, and support one another. Watching the community thrive gave Chloe a sense of purpose she had never known before. Thriving in her role. Chloe had grown into her new position with confidence and determination. Though she initially doubted her abilities, Keanu's trust in her and the support of her team made all the difference. She spent her days meeting with community leaders, organizing events, and brainstorming new ways to expand the Beacon Project's reach. Her leadership style reflected the same kindness and compassion that had caught Keanu's attention in the first place. She listened to the people she served, valuing their input and ensuring their voices shaped the organization's efforts. Every success felt deeply personal, a reminder that her journey had come full circle. A growing friendship. Keanu Reeves remained actively involved in the Beacon Project, attending events and offering his insight whenever Chloe needed it. Despite his fame, he was humble and approachable, treating everyone with respect. Over time, Chloe and Keanu developed a friendship rooted in mutual admiration and shared values. You know, Chloe said one day as they worked together on plans for a mentorship program, "I still can't believe any of this happened. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a dream." Keanu smiled. "It's no dream, Chloe. You've earned every bit of this. All I did was give you the opportunity, you've done the hard work." Chloe laughed. "That's generous of you to say, but I think we both know I wouldn't be here without that night at the diner." "Maybe," Keanu replied thoughtfully. "But I believe kindness has a way of coming back around. You gave me a gift that night, your respect, your empathy. This is just the universe giving you what you deserve." Chloe blushed, touched by his words. Their conversations often left her feeling inspired, not just to do her best for the Beacon project but to continue being the person Keanu believed her to be. A life transformed. Chloe's life outside of work had changed, too. With a stable income and a renewed sense of purpose, she finally moved out of her cramped apartment and into a small but cozy place she could call her own. She reconnected with old friends and found herself enjoying simple pleasures she had long neglected, reading, journaling, and even pursuing her love of photography. But it wasn't just material improvements that marked her transformation. Chloe felt stronger, more confident, and more at peace than she had in years. Her past struggles no longer defined her, they had become stepping stones to a brighter future. Reflecting on the journey. One evening, after hosting a successful fundraising gala that had exceeded its goal, Chloe found herself alone in the office, tidying up. The room was quiet now, the glow of city lights filtering through the windows. She sat at her desk and pulled out the folded note Keanu had written that night at the diner. "Thank you for your kindness. The world needs more people like you. Kr." Chloe read the words slowly, letting their meaning sink in. A wave of gratitude washed over her as she thought about how far she had come. That one small act of kindness, choosing to protect someone's peace instead of seeking recognition, had set off a chain of events that changed her life forever. She thought about the people she had helped through the Beacon project, the friendships she had formed, and the life she was building. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. For the first time in years, Chloe felt truly happy. Slipping the note back into her wallet, Chloe stood and turned off the lights, ready to head home. As she stepped out into the cool night air, she smiled to herself, knowing that her journey was just beginning. The path ahead was bright, and she was ready to embrace it with open arms.